Thanks my YouTube family, thank you so much for visiting my channel, and today I'm going to share with you how to invest like the top 1% in the world. In particular today I'm going to share with you Lilu's portfolio, particularly he manages the fund called the Himalaya Capital Management LLC, and this portfolio is was valued at 1.8 billion in September 2023. So essentially things may have changed, but I just find this interesting because I see how the big guys are investing, right? And then I take a particular interest as to their investment thesis and see if I can learn something. And for those who don't know me, my name is Isaac Jonas, and I like sharing content about personal finance and investing. But as a disclaimer, this is not investing advice, and I'm not particularly saying this is what you should follow, but it's just for educational purposes. So Lilu, as of September 2023, held just 6 stocks, right? And these stocks include Bank of America, which had about 27.2% of his portfolio at Himalaya Capital Management. Of course, they may have other private investments, but this is just the ones that are publicly available. So what this means is he invests in the Bank of America. So for me, this is not my area of interest, so I would rather focus on other areas. Then number 2, he also invested in Google and Alphabet, right? Alphabet is the parent company for or holding for Google, but for me the shares they are almost the same, except that the difference is in the voting rights. Like to say, if you own Alphabet, you may have voting rights, and then Google, it might not be the case. But in terms of their value, they are very similar. So I just find it very interesting that he, in total, with the Google and Alphabet shares, he has about 40.34% invested, like Google 22.05%, and then Alphabet about 18.29%. So at the end of the day, for me, this is a very interesting position or holding, because Google, I've been looking at it closely because it is one of the top search engines in the world, and they're very fantastic, metrics. Even if I look at the analysis, like, return on capital invested over the past couple of years, their products they provide. So for me, this is a very interesting holding that I took out of looking at these filings from the Securities Exchange Commission holdings. And I got this through Ruan toolbox. It's a very interesting toolbox that I use. And the 4th holding for Lilu through his company Himalaya Capital Management is Berkshire Hathaway. So for Berkshire Hathaway, I've done a video, and obviously this is the fund that is managed or has Warren Buffett as the chair of the organization or the corporation. So what this means is that he trusts or invests in Berkshire Hathaway. So he has 17.28% invested in Berkshire Hathaway. And for me, I find this interesting because I'm also invested in Berkshire Hathaway Class B shares, because I believe in the diversification, even though it is more inclined in as of the filings in September, they had about 50.04% in Apple. But there are other holdings like Occidental, Micro stocks that the Berkshire Hathaway conglomerate has. And also I like I've said in the other video, that they also like to keep cash, even up to about 20% of their assets under management, to take advantage of the short-term correction in the market. The last time that I checked, I saw from the filings that they had about 150 billion in cash just sitting, and they will be doing research and waiting for opportunities to buy, at discounted prices. And the key, from what I'm learning as a retail investor, is that sometimes, just holding, your cash, and also looking at other businesses and understanding them to understand their valuation, and then waiting for that opportunity to then start to invest in. So I find that most of the time as a retail investor, I do nothing other than researching and finding ways to get money or income streams so that I can invest. And I do research. I understand the businesses that I potentially would invest in. And so I act very infrequently. But when I do so aggressively, right? So let's say the stock that I have been researching and I believe in now drops. Sometimes it's because maybe the market is just selling off or the interest rates have increased, right? I start opening a position and I start buying aggressively, and then I just wait. I did that as an example when some of the shares, like for companies like Google, dropped, and even Nike, it dropped, right? And when I look at the valuation, I was like, well, this is a good opportunity, this is a good business in terms of my thesis, right? Because I look at the cash flows, the management, I do a deep dive, and by the way, I have a course that I will be uploading on my upcoming website so that I show an example of how to value a business. And in this case, I actually use an example of Google. So that's the key, because if you get in and there's a good margin of safety, now it means even if it fluctuates or drops, right? You have, let's say you went in when it was down like 30, 40, 50%, and from the valuation, like looking at the future cash flows, the past, historical returns in terms of, their ratios, the liquidity, and also the profit margins, and also the management, who are the people at the helm of this business. Then for me, that's how I do. And then I close my brokerage account, and then I wait for the money to compound over time. I then, infrequently check or just listen to earnings calls and other important events, right? Without necessarily worrying about, the day-to-day fluctuations of my portfolio. Now, I noticed that the fifth stock that Lilu holds is East West Bancorp with about 8%, and is really invested in the banking sector. And the sixth stock as of the September 2023 filing that Lilu, through his Himalaya Capital Management LLC, holds or held, was as Apple, which at 7.15%. So in total, what I find interesting there is that Apple is also the major holding as of the filings of September 2023 for Berkshire Hathaway. They had about 50.04%, like I said. So in total, he has so much exposure in Apple because of that particular, exposure to Berkshire Hathaway as well. So that being said, I believe Apple is a fantastic business. When I look at it either way, the market leader in their space, and also they've been having consistent, and growing revenues, revenue streams over the time from the product they design. So it's a wonderful business. So the key from what I'm learning is that you have to stick to things that you understand. If you don't understand, it's okay to just invest in very few stocks, like in my case, that you understand. And for me, I then blend them in with a few other exchange traded funds that I believe in. For example, the S&P 500, right? I just buy the index. If I get, 10% over time every year, that would be good. And the individual stocks, if they give me a higher return, then that's good. But I limit my risk by not investing too much in one individual stock. A maximum I can put is like, 10%, but I like it to be 5%, right? But sometimes it goes up, right? Because, for example, another position that I held, it increased because, sometimes, the share values increase. But I don't really sell unless there are fundamental changes to that particular stock, or maybe there are other reasons. Maybe I need money, right, to do other things. So that's it for today. I thought I would just share. For me, these are just learning moments, and I like to learn from people who are successful. So that's one way that I do. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel, Streetwise Economics. and so that you don't miss content like this in the future. Have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.